There's something most women overlook when trying to create intense sexual chemistry with a man. They skip the emotional runway and try to take off too fast. But here's the truth that flips the whole game. The most intoxicating part of seduction isn't the act itself. It's what happens before it. It's that slow build, the delicious tension, the space between the wanting and the having. That's what drives him wild. That's what gets under his skin and stays there long after he's left the room. Men are wired for desire, yes. But what no one tells you is that desire isn't just about what he sees. It's about what he feels before he gets to see anything. Sexual addiction, real craving begins in the mind. And emotional anticipation, that's your secret weapon. Picture this. A man meets a woman who gives him everything immediately. The looks, the attention, the approval, the sex, no mystery, no tension, just availability. Sure, he might be excited at first, that instant gratification rush, but it fades fast. Why? Because he didn't get to chase. He didn't get to wonder. He didn't feel that addictive pull of, or what is it about her that I can't stop thinking about? Now imagine a woman who knows how to hold space. She's not withholding to manipulate. She's just deeply comfortable in her own skin. She knows her value. She's not in a rush to prove her desire, because her desire doesn't need to be performed. It's just there, radiating quietly beneath the surface. When she looks at him, it's intentional. When she speaks, it's with confidence. She flirts without trying. She creates this subtle contrast between warmth and distance, enough for him to lean in, but never quite feel like he has her all figured out. That's the woman he craves. That's the woman who lives in his mind when he's lying in bed at night, rewinding her smile, the way she brushed her hand past his arm like it was nothing, but it felt like everything. This kind of anticipation isn't about playing games. It's about being deliberate. It's understanding that intimacy doesn't start in the bedroom. It starts in the way you speak to him, the way you walk past him, the way your energy lingers in a room after you've left. It's the tension of the almost, the charged silence between glances. The story that builds behind your eyes before anything physical even happens. And the best part? He has no idea why he's so into you. He just knows he can't stop coming back. Because every time he's around you, he's on the edge of something, not sure where it's going, but deeply addicted to the journey. You become his cliffhanger. And people don't walk away from cliffhangers. They crave the next episode. Emotional anticipation works because it allows him to invest. Not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. He starts imagining things, playing out fantasies in his mind. He's seduced by the idea of you, not just your body. And once he's addicted to that feeling, the way you make him feel in his own imagination, he'll chase it with everything he's got. Most people think seduction is about turning someone on. But true sexual power, it's about turning someone over in their own mind, making them restless, making them ache, not from what you give, but from what you hold back, what you let simmer. Because when a man is emotionally anticipating you, your words, your presence, your touch, every moment with you becomes a high, every glance is a tease, every goodbye is too soon, and every thought of you feels like foreplay. Confidence is sexy, not in the loud, in-your-face kind of way, but in that quiet, magnetic presence that says, I know who I am, and I don't need your reaction to confirm it. That's the kind of confidence that makes a man stop in his tracks. That's the kind that lingers, that builds sexual intrigue, that keeps him coming back, not just for your body, but for the way you make him feel, just by being in your presence. A woman who exudes this kind of confidence walks into a room and doesn't need to announce herself. She's not looking around to see who's watching. She's not adjusting her posture because someone glanced her way. Her energy says, I'm not here to be chosen. I am the choice. And that shifts the entire dynamic. Because now, instead of trying to impress, she's letting people earn her attention. Instead of chasing approval, she's choosing connection. That subtle reversal is where the power lives. You can feel it in her body language. She's not overcompensating. She's not trying to be extra sexy, extra smart, extra funny just to win someone over. She's comfortable being still, being silent, letting someone else come to her. And when she does speak, it's not rushed or filled with nervous laughter. It's intentional. It's grounded. She speaks because she has something to say, not because she needs to fill the space or make someone like her. There's nothing more sexually addictive than a woman who is centered in herself. When a man senses that you don't need him to validate your beauty, your desirability, or your worth, he becomes drawn to you on a level he can't explain. Because you're not looking for him to define you. You already know who you are. That creates mystery. It creates space for him to discover you, rather than feeling like you're trying to sell yourself to him. Validation-seeking energy repels over time. It might attract attention at first, the way someone overly laughs at jokes, tries too hard to prove they're the whole package, or subtly competes with other women in the room. But that energy becomes exhausting because it's not rooted in truth. It's rooted in fear, the fear of not being enough unless someone else confirms it, and that fear shows. It leaks through even the best outfit, the best flirting lines, the best sex. But a woman who isn't performing, who isn't auditioning for affection, changes the game completely. She doesn't dim her light to be digestible. She doesn't shrink herself in the presence of a man she's attracted to. She doesn't try to manage his perception of her, because she knows that the right person will be drawn to her because of her essence, not despite it. That's not arrogance. That's inner stability. That's the kind of confidence that makes a man step up or step aside, and either way, you stay grounded. This kind of confidence isn't about pretending to be above emotion or never feeling insecure. Everyone has moments of doubt. Boom! The difference is, a confident woman knows those doubts don't define her. She doesn't seek constant reassurance because she's already given herself the internal permission to feel worthy, sexy, wanted. And ironically, when a man sees that you don't need his attention, that's exactly when he starts giving you more of it. Because now, it's not about ego or validation. It's about curiosity. Who is this woman who isn't trying to win me? Who is this woman who seems full, even when I give her nothing? Confidence that doesn't seek validation creates sexual polarity. It makes a man lean in, want to prove himself to you. It pulls him out of his head and into his instincts. The desire to pursue, to uncover, to impress, not because he has to, but because he wants to. And when he does win a piece of your affection, it actually means something. It's not just handed out freely. It's earned. That makes the connection feel real, valuable, worth holding on to. There's something dangerously intoxicating about the touch that almost happens. That soft graze of your hand against his arm. The way your fingers linger just a second too long when you pass him something. The brush of your knee under the table that may or may not have been an accident. It's those moments, the almost, the maybes, the slow burns, that make a man spiral into craving, because true seduction doesn't scream. It whispers. And the whisper is always more powerful when it leaves something unsaid. Subtle touch isn't about being overly sexual or overt. It's about presence. It's about how you use your body as an extension of your intention. When a woman is aware of her power, she doesn't need to drape herself over a man to be noticed. She lets the tension build. She lets him feel her before he even touches her. That's what makes her unforgettable. She uses touch not to claim him, but to activate him. There's a huge difference between affection and sensuality. Affection says, "Why like you? I'm comfortable with you." Sensuality says, "I'm aware of you. I feel you. I'm intentionally choosing to let this moment stretch." And when you combine that with restraint, with the art of not rushing into the obvious, it lights a fuse. Delayed gratification isn't about manipulation. It's about mastery. It's understanding that desire peaks in the waiting. The fantasy is strongest when it's not fulfilled too quickly. The imagination takes over. And once his imagination is involved, you're not just touching his skin, you're touching his mind. Think about how many people jump into the physical way too fast, thinking that access equals intimacy. But real connection, real skin-tingling, addictive intimacy, happens when you hold back just enough to make every second of contact feel intentional. It's in the way your hand rests at the back of his neck for a moment longer than necessary. It's in the way you lean in to whisper something and your lips graze his ear, not on purpose, but not exactly by accident either. These are the things that keep him hooked. Because now he's no longer just reacting, he's anticipating. He's on edge. Boo. He's wondering what's coming next, when he'll feel you again, how far you'll let things go the next time. And you're in control the entire time. Not because you're cold or distant, but because you understand the rhythm of attraction. You know that when you slow down the beat, he feels every note. That when you give him just a taste, he leans in harder. When you touch him like it means something, like it wasn't automatic, He starts to hang on every movement. You create a world where your touch is a reward, not a routine. And that makes it sacred. The beauty of subtle touch is that it doesn't beg for attention. It commands it. Because when a woman is intentional with how and when she gives physical energy, a man begins to associate her with high value. Not just sexually, but emotionally too. She's not reacting to him. She's engaging on her terms. She's letting the energy rise, letting the chemistry build layer by layer without rushing to the peak. And because of that, the peak feels 10 times more powerful when it finally arrives. Delayed gratification doesn't mean shutting him out or playing hard to get. It means letting the space between moments become a playground of tension. It means enjoying the pull, the ache, the silent stare that says everything without a single word. Because once he knows how good it feels to wait for your touch, once he associates the build-up with something deliciously addictive, he'll crave it like a fix. Not just the touch itself, but the anticipation of it. The next glance, the next brush of your fingers, the next accidental press of your body against his in a crowded room. That's where the fire lives. In the pause before the flame, in the breath before the kiss, in the touch that almost happens, but doesn't quite yet. Predictability is comforting, but it's really sexy. When a man can predict every move you'll make, how you'll react, what you'll say, how you'll touch him when you'll cave, it might make him feel safe, but it doesn't make him crave you. Craving lives in curiosity. It's born in the tension of not knowing what's coming next, of being surprised by you in the most subtle and seductive ways. A woman who's unpredictable in the best way doesn't need to play games. She is the game. And he wants to keep playing, not because he's confused, but because she constantly keeps his interest alive. Being unpredictable isn't about being chaotic or inconsistent. It's about showing dimension, layers, a softness that can turn sharp. A playful vibe that suddenly becomes intensely passionate. A moment where you're laughing in the car and the next, you're leaning in close, quiet, eyes locked, and he doesn't know if you're about to kiss him or tell him a secret. That's the kind of unpredictability that hooks him, because you're not following a script. You're alive, present, intuitive, free, and because you're not performing, he has to actually pay attention to keep up with you. When every date, every conversation, every touch feels like he's just unlocking a new level of who you are, he doesn't get bored. He stays alert. He starts looking for the next clue, the next side of you he hasn't met yet. Maybe one day you're flirtatious and light, teasing him with a devilish grin across the table. Maybe the next time you're grounded and introspective, asking him something that hits a little deeper than he expected. You don't shift to confuse. You shift because you're not one-dimensional. You live fully in whatever energy you're feeling that day, and you're not afraid to let him witness it. This keeps things electric, even when nothing overtly sexual is happening. You create a rhythm that never settles into something predictable. He can't check out. He's watching you, learning you, wondering what's underneath that look you just gave him, or that comment you tossed over your shoulder before walking away. You become the kind of woman who lingers in his mind long after the conversation ends, not because you were trying to be mysterious, but because your energy moved in a way that didn't follow the same pattern he's used to. You didn't give him what he expected. You gave him something real, something rare, and now he's trying to figure out what exactly just happened and how soon he can see you again. The best kind of unpredictability also shows up in how you respond to him. Sometimes you'll meet his intensity with your own. Other times, you'll pull back and smile knowingly, making him lean in harder. When he thinks he's got your rhythm down, you break it, not to play hard to get, but because you're not here to follow his pace. You move at your own, and that makes him want to adjust to you. Or maybe he compliments you, expecting a certain reaction, but instead of melting, you smile and shift the energy. Challenge him playfully. Make him work for your approval a little more. Maybe he initiates touch, and instead of immediately responding, you pause, hold eye contact, and slowly lean in, but just barely, and then pull away, leaving him breathless. This dance, this playfulness, this unpredictability, it's not a tactic. It's how you express your freedom. You're not confined to one version of yourself. You're not trying to fit into a mold of what you think a sexy woman should be. One day you wear the soft sweater and laugh at his jokes with warmth. The next you show up in red lipstick and say something that makes him freeze for a second. You surprise even yourself sometimes, and that's the point. You are alive, not rehearsed. That energy is rare. And when a man finds it, he can't help but want more. Not because you're hard to get, but because you're impossible to forget. If you want to make a man sexually addicted to you, don't just focus on his body. Connect to his desires. Connect to his desires, not the surface level ones, not just the visual or physical pull, but the ones buried underneath. The ones he doesn't talk about out loud. The ones that go beyond sex, even if they start there. Because when a man feels like you get him in a way no one else does, when you touch the parts of him that aren't visible, you become more than attractive. You become unforgettable. A man's desire isn't just about what he wants to do. It's about how he wants to feel. And most people never even get close to that layer. They focus on technique, on appearance, on giving him what they think men want. But true power lies in presence. It lies in being able to look at a man and see past the performance, past the ego, past the carefully curated mask. When you do that, when you speak to the version of him that's rarely seen, the one that craves to be understood, accepted, admired, challenged, that's when everything changes. That's when he starts craving you. Desire is deeply emotional. Whoa. Even in the most physical moments, people want to feel something. Power, surrender, closeness, dominance, freedom, worship, vulnerability, connection. And every man has a different emotional blueprint tied to his physical attraction. Some want to feel in control. Others want to feel safe enough to let go. Some crave praise. Others crave the thrill of the chase. When you learn to read between the lines, when you observe him, how he touches you, how he looks at you, how he responds to silence, you start to see what he's really hungry for. It's not about changing who you are to please him. It's about showing up with such emotional intelligence and awareness that you can meet him where his true desires live. You become the woman who doesn't just make him feel turned on, you make him feel seen. That's rare. That's intimate. And once he experiences it, everything else starts to feel flat by comparison. When you speak to his desires, you create sexual tension that feels deeper than just arousal. It's laced with emotional texture. It's not just about what your body is doing. It's about the energy you bring into the room. It's the way you listen to him, not just with your ears, but with your eyes, with your curiosity, with your attention. It's the way you respond to what's underneath his words, not just what he says. It's when you mirror his intensity or soften in the moments he needs grounding. It's when you challenge him just enough to activate his passion, but reassure him in the exact moment he needs to feel accepted. You can tell when you've connected to a man's deeper desires because his entire posture changes around you. His voice softens. His eyes linger longer. He touches you like he's savoring, not just grabbing. He leans in, not just physically, but emotionally. And even when he pulls away, he doesn't feel pulled away. He carries you with him. Your presence stays in the background of his thoughts because you didn't just stimulate him. You satisfied a craving he didn't even know he had. This kind of connection doesn't require constant talking or overanalyzing. It lives in the quiet moments. In the glance you hold just a little too long. In the way you say his name when he's distracted. In how you create space for him to show up without pressure or performance. You let him be the man he wants to be. Not by telling him who that is, but by believing in it, inviting it, evoking it. And in return, he gives you more of himself. Not just his body, but his focus, his obsession, his loyalty to the feeling he only gets when he's with you, you said. Own your pleasure first expanded up to minimum 600 words. And do not add any ending sentence. Do not add bullets points, ChatGPT said. There's nothing more magnetic than a woman who owns her pleasure. Not just in the bedroom, but in every part of her life. She doesn't wait for permission to enjoy herself. She doesn't rely on a man to awaken her sensuality. She brings the energy. She is the experience. And because of that, she becomes unforgettable. Because when a woman is lit up from within, when she's fully dropped into her body, her senses, her joy, a man doesn't just want to be near her. He wants to immerse himself in her world. Too often, women are taught to focus on someone else's experience, to perform, to please, to give. And while giving is beautiful, it becomes magnetic when it's coming from a place of overflow, not obligation. When a woman is disconnected from her own pleasure, everything feels transactional. Her touch lacks warmth. Her words feel rehearsed. Her energy becomes dependent on how he responds, whether he approves, whether he reacts the way she hoped. But when she's in tune with herself, when she's present in her body, aware of what excites her, what turns her on, what feels delicious, everything shifts. Now he's not just responding to her appearance. He's responding to her aliveness. Owning your pleasure means giving yourself the freedom to explore, to feel, to prioritize your senses, your excitement, your curiosity. It means letting go of the pressure to perform and giving yourself full permission to experience. Whether it's the taste of your favorite food, the music that moves your body without you thinking, or the moment someone touches you and you actually pause to feel it, that's the beginning of true sensual power. And when a man sees you enjoying life that way, enjoying yourself that way, he feels pulled in. He wants to be part of that experience, not because you made him the center of it, but because your pleasure is so rich, so real, that it becomes contagious. There's something wildly attractive about a woman who doesn't need external stimulation to feel good. She knows how to turn herself on emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically. She flirts with life. She laughs from her belly. She wears what makes her feel sexy, not what she thinks he'll like. She touches herself, not just sexually, but casually, sensually, without shame. She takes her time. She slows down. She stretches. She breathes. And because she's so tuned into her own senses, she heightens the senses of everyone around her, especially him. When you bring that energy into an intimate space, the dynamic changes completely. You're not waiting for him to lead. You're co-creating. You're present, responsive, alive to every nuance. You moan not because he wants to hear it, but because you can't not. Your body moves not out of habit, but instinct. You know what you like, and you're not afraid to explore it. You're vocal about what feels good. You guide without apologizing. You let your pleasure be the compass, not just for your body, but for the whole energy of the moment. This kind of ownership makes you irresistible because it doesn't require convincing. It's not performative. It's not about being sexy in the way culture sells it. It's about being real, sensual, radiant. A woman who owns her pleasure doesn't need to chase validation. It finds her. Men notice her before she even says a word. There's a softness in her expression, a confidence in her movements, a warmth in her presence. She doesn't over-explain herself. She doesn't second-guess her desires. She feels what she feels, wants what she wants, and isn't afraid to take up space with that energy. And the truth is, a man can't get addicted to you sexually if you're not even turned on by yourself. If you're waiting for him to make it exciting, you'll always be one step behind, always trying to keep his attention. But when you own your own turn on, when you walk into a room already lit up, already centered, already tuned in, he has no choice but to rise to that level. He stops trying to control the experience and starts wanting to be worthy of it. He sees that you're not looking to be fulfilled. You're looking to share what you've already cultivated inside yourself. And that, right there, is what makes you addictive. Not because of what you give him, but because of how alive he feels in your presence when you've already claimed your own pleasure as a priority.